Welcome, everyone. Today we're starting the Shelly 1000 Trophy Challenge. No excuses, no delay, just pure grinding. Let's see how far we can push this. So the idea is simple, but the grind behind it is not simple at all. We're taking Shelly from low trophies all the way to 1000 trophies. And every single match will matter from now on. One win might push us forward fast, but one loss can slow everything down way more than you think. That's the reality of trophy pushing. It looks easy from the outside, but once you start grinding, it becomes a mental game too. You don't just need skill, you need patience, focus, and consistency. Now let's go deeper into Shelly. Shelly is one of the most important starter brawlers in the game, but don't let that starter label fool you. In the right hands, she can feel like a completely different character. Her main attack is a shotgun blast, but what makes it special is the spread damage. The closer you are to the enemy, the more pellets hit them, which means the damage becomes insane at close range. This is why Shelly is so dangerous in tight spaces, in bushes, narrow corridors, or small maps. She becomes a real threat because enemies don't have time to react. Even experienced players can get caught off guard if they misjudge her range by just a little bit. But Shelly is not only about raw damage, she is also about pressure. Just having a Shelly on the map changes how enemies play. People start avoiding bushes. They start playing more slowly. They stop rushing blindly. That psychological pressure is actually one of her strongest abilities, even if it's not written anywhere in her stats. Now let's talk about her super in more detail. Her super is a wide cone blast that deals heavy damage, knocks enemies back, and destroys walls. The knockback alone can completely reset a fight. If an enemy is pushing too hard, one super can push them back and give you full control of the situation again. But the wall break part is just as important. By removing walls, Shelly can open the map and remove enemy cover, which forces fights into open areas where she can track enemies better. This is where good Shelly players stand out from average ones. Average players just spam attacks, but good players save their super for the perfect moment. One well-timed super can turn a losing fight into a winning one instantly. Another important thing about Shelly is her matchup style. She is extremely strong against close-range brawlers, but she struggles more against long-range characters if you don't manage distance properly. That means positioning is everything. If you stay patient and wait for enemies to come close, Shelly feels overpowered. But if you rush without thinking, she becomes much weaker. That's why this challenge is not just about aiming, it's about decision-making. When to attack, when to wait, and when to hold your position. And honestly, that's what makes Shelly fun to push. She is simple to understand, but hard to master at higher levels. At low trophies, Shelly feels unstoppable. Most players don't respect her range and walk too close. That's where she dominates the most. But as you go higher, things change. Players become smarter. They check bushes more. They keep distance. And they punish mistakes. Now Shelly is no longer free wins. She becomes skill-based. Every fight needs timing and patience. Right now, the most important thing is mindset. It's not about rushing. It's not about lucky wins, it's about staying consistent. Every trophy matters. Every loss is a lesson. Every win pushes us forward. If I tilt, everything becomes harder. So focus is key. Now let's be completely honest about the hardest part of this challenge. This is where things stop being fun and start becoming real pressure. Because when you start pushing trophies for a long time, you don't just face enemies in the game. You also start facing problems outside the gameplay itself. The first big problem is losing streaks. At some point, no matter how good you play, you will lose multiple matches in a row. And that's where everything gets harder. You start questioning your decisions. You start rushing more. You start trying to fix things too fast. And that's exactly how tilt begins. Once you tilt, your gameplay changes completely. You stop thinking properly. You make rush decisions. And you lose even more matches. That's why losing streaks are dangerous. Not because of the trophies you lose, but because of the mindset damage. Another big problem is matchup difficulty. Sometimes the game just gives you bad situations. Enemies with better range, enemies with better control, or maps that don't really favor Shelly. In those moments, it feels like nothing is working. You try to push, but you get punished. You try to play safe, but you still lose control. And that's frustrating because it's not always about skill. Sometimes it's just bad timing or bad matchups. Then there is the problem of fatigue. When you play too many matches in a row, your focus slowly drops. At first, you are sharp. You react fast. You make good decisions. But after a while, You start getting tired, and tired gameplay leads to small mistakes. And small mistakes lead to big losses. That's why long sessions are actually one of the biggest hidden dangers in trophy pushing. Another serious issue is pressure from progress. At the beginning, everything feels easy. But once you start gaining trophies, every loss feels heavier. Because now you are not just playing for fun, you are protecting progress. That pressure builds up slowly. One loss feels okay, 2 losses feel annoying. But after a few, you start feeling stressed. And that's where consistency becomes very important. And finally, the biggest problem of all is mental consistency. This is not a short challenge. This is a long journey. And in long journeys, motivation always goes up and down. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel like stopping. Some days you just don't want to play. But the challenge doesn't stop. So the real difficulty is not the game. It's showing up every time and continuing no matter how you feel. Right now, the most important thing in this entire challenge is focus. Because at this stage, it's not about playing fast or playing aggressively. It's about playing smart. Every single decision matters from here on. When to attack, when to defend, when to wait, and when to take risks. If you rush without thinking, you lose control of the match. And once you lose control, everything becomes harder. One of the biggest problems in trophy pushing is distraction. Sometimes you start thinking about trophies instead of the actual game. You start focusing on numbers instead of decisions, and that's dangerous. Because the moment your focus shifts away from the match, mistakes start happening. Even small mistakes can change the outcome of a fight. One missed shot, one bad position, one wrong push. All of these can lead to losing a match. That's why staying calm is extremely important. No panic, no rushing, no forcing plays that don't make sense. Good players don't always play fast. They play smart. They wait for the right moment. They read the situation, and they punish mistakes when they happen. Another important part of focus is consistency. You can't play well in one match and completely fall apart in the next. That's not how long challenges work. You need stable performance, game after game, match after match. Even if the games feel repetitive, staying consistent is what brings results. And honestly, this is where most players struggle. Not with mechanics, not with aiming, but with focus over time. Because after a few matches, your brain starts to get tired. You start making faster decisions, and that's where mistakes happen. So in this challenge, the goal is simple. Stay focused, stay calm, and play every match like it matters. Because every trophy counts, every win matters, and every mistake costs progress. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. This was just the beginning of the Shelly 1000 Trophy Challenge. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be fast. But every match from here on is part of the journey. Every win brings us closer. Every loss teaches us something, and every trophy actually matters more than it looks. So I really need your support on this journey. Your likes, your comments, and your support are what keep me motivated to keep going. So please support me, because your support is what pushes me to continue and go further. And that's the end of today's episode. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.